All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome here in this space. I am so glad that you have decided to join in for a little bit of movement today. So, my name is McCall, and today we're going to go through a yin practice. And so, for this practice, if you have a block, you can surely use a block. And there are different sizes of blocks. So, if you have never used one before, there's a 3-inch, there's a 4-inch. And so, depending on what pose you might be doing, sometimes it's helpful to have a block to kind of slide in there to help support you in that pose. Now, if you don't have a block, maybe you have a blanket that you can fold up, maybe into 4s, or if you've got maybe a thinner pillow that can be utilized, or like a flatter pillow, you could use that instead to help support in some of these poses. So we'll be holding poses. We'll stay low and low to the ground, and then we're going to hold poses for a few minutes. So we'll look at holding about that 2-minute mark today as we go through. So if you're looking for a practice to help you to focus on some flexibility, then this would be a great practice for just that. And so we'll be very slow and low to the ground. Now, at any point, if something doesn't feel good in your body, allow yourself to opt out of it. Give yourself permission to rest. Usually that first minute, we're trying to still find our way in that pose and kind of settle in. So just know it's okay if you kind of need to adjust and wiggle, and then allow yourself to settle into that pose for the remaining of the time. Okay, so let's get started. Let's find a comfortable position for ourselves, whether that is seated or whether that is laying down. You get to choose. And find maybe a comfortable place in your home, wherever you might be. And as you find that comfortable place, if you need it, maybe turn on some gentle music for yourself to kind of help you settle into your space. Feel free to do that. But otherwise, here we go. We can allow ourselves to close the eyes, or we can bring them to a softened gaze. And let's just take a moment to evaluate the space around us. So let's listen in for the sounds that maybe we hear in the distance. Starting to evaluate the sounds that maybe you hear within your space. Observing the temperature of the space that you're in and how this feels upon your skin. Maybe noticing any scents in your space. Allowing your breath to get a little deeper. And then observing how our body is physically showing up for us today. there's any pain, any pressure, or any areas that might feel a little stiff or a little sore. Relaxing our forehead and softening our face. Unclenching your jaw and releasing your tongue from the roof of your mouth. Maybe even creating a slight part between your top lip and your bottom lip. Softening the shoulders, letting them hang low. Creating plenty of space between our ears and our shoulders and the chin and the chest. And feeling our arms resting gently down along our sides as our hips start to press down and towards the earth. And feeling our legs at ease. And taking that moment to turn inward, observing how we're showing up here mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and energetically. And observing any thoughts or feelings that arise. And then taking this opportunity to set an intention for your practice. What is it that you hope to gain from your practice today? And what is it that the mind or the body may need? And as you're thinking about that intention, this practice is really all about helping to take some stress off of the body. It's a way for us to improve our flexibility, to improve the flow of prana throughout our body, a way to calm the body, to calm the mind. Look at improving our circulation, allowing us to kind of access those deeper layers of connective tissues or fascia within the body. So what is it that your mind or your body needs here today? And drawing that focus towards the breath. Letting each breath get a little deeper. Letting each breath get a little longer. We'll head into that technique, a breathwork technique called 4-4-4. We'll be inhaling for a count of 4. We'll hold the breath for a count of 4. And then we'll exhale for a count of 4. And at any point, if that feels uncomfortable, just allow yourself to breathe as you normally would. So we start by emptying out the lungs with the exhale. Taking a nice big inhale for 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, and 4. Returning to your normal breathing here. Observing our state of being. And bringing that energy and awareness back to the physical body. Maybe it's allowing ourselves to wiggle. Maybe it's to move the body gently, or to introduce any natural movement that feels good, wiggling the toes, the fingertips, nodding the head. Maybe allowing yourself to reach the arms up high to take a nice big gentle stretch. Doing what serves you best. Always taking that body first approach, listening into your body. And then coming back to a moment of stillness. Maybe blinking the eyes open, but maintaining that softened gaze. Now we'll start to allow ourselves to introduce a little bit of movement. We'll start with a little spinal warm-up. So if you're in a position where maybe you're laying down, gently rolling towards your right side, and then allowing yourself to raise up nice and slow. And we find ourselves coming to this easy pose. Once in that easy pose, we'll take a nice big inhale. We'll lift the arms up towards the sky. Now as you exhale, lower your left hand down towards the ground. Right hand reaches over the top, as if you're giving a high five to the floor. Right arm reaches over that right ear. Observing any sensations we notice here to start. Allowing ourselves to breathe deeply. Our gaze can look towards the floor, towards me, or the inner of that right arm. As you inhale, bring the arms back towards the center. As you exhale, we'll lower that right hand down. Left hand reaches over the top to give that high five to the floor. Choosing where your gaze goes. As you inhale, slowly release, allow the arms to travel back towards the sky. As you exhale, hinge from the hips, allow the arms to lower down towards the earth beneath you. Our hands can reach forward, or we can lower to our forearms, lower our heart down towards our thighs. If we're feeling a little tight, you can always place a block underneath your heart, in between your heart and your thighs, to help bring your thighs a little closer to you, or imagining that we're bringing the floor a little closer. As you inhale, we slowly release, allow ourselves to raise up nice and slow. Allow the hands to come into that heart center, interlock them together. Start to move them in a circular motion. When maybe we hear some snap, crackle, and pops. If you don't hear anything, that's okay. And then allowing ourselves to bring the hands to that heart. Turn your palms to face me. Arms are parallel towards the floor. Take a nice big inhale. Lift the arms up towards the sky. As you exhale, turn to twist to your left, only as far as what's comfortable. As you inhale, slowly release back to the center. As you exhale, turn to twist to your right. As you inhale, bring it back to the center. As you exhale, lower them all the way back down. As you inhale, lift shoulders to the ears. As you exhale, lower down and back. As you inhale, lift shoulders to the ears. As you exhale, roll down and back. As you inhale, lift shoulders to the ears. As you exhale, roll down and back. Let the shoulders hang low. Take a few little head circlers. So let the chin guide the way. And this can be as big or as small as you'd like. Just be mindful of how it feels along your throat and your neck. Move nice and slow. Maybe allow yourself to go one more time in this direction. And then change directions. Allowing ourselves to go once more in that direction. And then bringing it back to your center, nice and slow. Now we're going to transition to all fours. So that means we're going to come to tabletop. So however it feels best for you to get there. Now, if you have discomfort being on your knees, if you have a bolster or a pillow that you can slide under your knees here, you surely can. You can always double up your mat and see if that provides a little more cushion for you as well. Once coming to tabletop, stack your shoulders over your elbows and your wrist, hips are over the knees, spread your fingertips wide. As you exhale, round the shoulders, tuck your chin to chest for cat. As you inhale, drop the belly low, turn your gaze and your heart forward for cow. As you exhale, round the shoulders, tuck your chin to chest for cat. As you inhale, drop your belly low. Continue through with your breath. Allow yourself to go through one more in each direction. And then return back to tabletop. Nice flat back. Now we're going to tuck our toes under. And then as you exhale, let your hips sink towards your heels. Option is arms can stay upright. Maybe you lower down to your forearms, or maybe you walk your hands out towards the top of your mat and lower your heart down towards the mat. Or maybe you utilize blocks here. Hands can always rest on top of blocks. Your forearms can rest on blocks. A bolster can be underneath our forearms or hands. As you inhale, slowly release, come back to tabletop. You can pitter-patter out the feet as needed, and then retuck the toes under. And as you exhale, come into down dog. Aim your tailbone towards the sky. Spread your fingertips wide here. And when we think of our hands, if there's discomfort along the wrist, put a block underneath each hand, or turn that flat palm into a fist, making a fist with each hand. Pressure on the shoulders, you can use those blocks or allow yourself to widen the arms. Pressure on the hips, widen your stance, have soft bend to the knees. Now as you're here, just take a moment, observe the sensations you might feel. Allow that chin to tuck towards your chest. As you inhale, turn your gaze to your thumbs. Step or jump to the top of your mat, forward fold. So soft bend to your knees. Let your heart melt down towards your thighs. Let the head hang low. As you inhale, half lift. Hands along shins, tabletop back. As you exhale, forward fold. Heart melts to thighs. Now as you inhale, step or jump back to a high plank. Now, as you're here, we're gonna lower all the way towards the mat, and we're gonna see Sphinx pose. So this will be the first pose we settle into. So from that side view, we're gonna allow our palms and forearms to go flat to the ground. We're lifting our heart, but we're pushing our hips down towards the mat. So a little mini back bend here. So as I show you from that front view, palms are flat, forearms are flat, lift the heart, and allow yourself just to kind of settle in. If you want to close the eyes, focus on your breath. On that next exhale, we get to lower down. So we're gonna point each elbow to each side, so away from you. Allow the hands to stack, forehead gets to rest to the back of the hands. Take this moment to observe how the body feels. Now, as we're here on our next exhale, we're gonna shimmy our upper body over to the right. So imagine we're making a palm tree with our body. So this is a Banasana variation. So maybe we're taking that bend over to the right, and maybe we allow our legs to start to also curve over to the right, as if you're trying to make a shape of a banana. Only bending as far as what's comfortable. As you inhale, slowly release. Nice and slow, back to the center. Allow our body to come right back to center. Take a moment here. Observe how the body feels. Our head, our forehead can rest to the back of our hands. On the next exhale, take that bend over to your left. So shifting our upper body over to that left side. Our left legs can also take that bend if it serves us. If not, allow yourself to keep the legs nice and straight as you bend from that upper side to the left. As you inhale, slowly release back to the center. We come back to a crocodile. Allow the forehead to rest to the back of the hands. And as you inhale, we're going to slowly release. Allow our hands to come towards our rib cage. We can lift ourselves up to that tabletop position. Once we come to tabletop, you can always take a moment, observe how the body feels, and we're gonna go to child's pose. So we're gonna let our knees, maybe our knees go as wide as our mat, big toes can meet. Let your hips sink down towards your heels. Your arms can reach towards the top of the mat. Our heart can melt down towards the mat. Now, if we feel like we're a little tight here, you can always take a block. You can place it underneath your heart. You can place it underneath your forehead. If you've got pressure along the knees, you can always place a block behind each hamstring there, and that kind of helps keep your hips up a little bit higher to take some impact off of the knees. If you have a bolster, you can do the same thing, or you can put a bolster underneath your knees or a pillow. So observe and do what you need, but taking that moment here in child's pose. As you inhale, we're going to slowly release, start to walk the hands in towards us. We can start to raise the body up, and let's shift to our bottom. Now, as you shift to bottom, we're going to see fire log. Now, with our fire log, we'll start with taking, let's do right leg down first. So it's almost like when we think of an easy pose. With easy pose, usually you're sitting cross-legged. Only instead, with fire log, we're going to have the right leg on the bottom, and then we're going to take our left ankle to rest along, we think, that right thigh. And we're kind of pointing our toes facing forward. Now, my hips are usually pretty tight, so you might notice when you do this that, hey, I am feeling a little tight, and there might be a gap, a space in between. That's where you can utilize a block, and you kind of use it as a wedge, slide it into place, so that way it's a position where you're supported. Now, once you get your foot placement set, so our right leg is on the bottom, left leg is on top, so our left knee, we think of that kind of lining up over our right foot, our right ankle, or our left ankle is over that right thigh, kind of aiming toes forward. And then we're going to have the option to stay here, or take a nice big inhale, and then as you exhale, slightly hinge forward, as if you're kind of bowing over your thighs. And observing where you notice those sensations here. As you inhale, slowly release. Allow ourselves to raise up if we were hinging forward. Removing block if you were using it. And then as you're there, you can allow the legs to maybe come into easy pose, observe for a minute, or if you need to let the legs go nice and long and then just kind of observe maybe side to side what you're kind of experiencing, feel free. And then when you're ready to move on, we're going to do the same thing to the other side. We're going to be bringing that left foot in. Left foot's going to be on the bottom. And the right foot is going to settle on top. So we're going to have our right foot going towards that left thigh. And then we think of our right knee going towards that left foot. And then taking note of, hey, is there a gap on one side compared to the other? Are they about the same? Do I need a block here? Do I need anything to help support? And then option is to stay as you are or to take a nice big inhale. And then as you exhale, slightly hinge forward. As you inhale, slowly release. Allow ourselves to gently unwind. Maybe taking a moment, an easy pose. Maybe letting the legs go nice and long. And when you feel ready, we're going to head into that position where the legs are nice and long. So we're going to head into caterpillar. Now, as we're here, option is if you have a strap, you can wrap your strap around the balls of your feet, and then as you take a nice big inhale, and as you exhale, kind of gently pull that strap, like wind it around your hands and gently guide yourself lower down towards your legs. Other options, if you have a bolster or a pillow and you want to place it on top of your legs, so that way if you are hinging forward, you've got something support to help kind of elevate the floor to you. Okay, something to keep in mind. If as you go through here, if you feel like you have too much pulling along the backside of your knees and you have two blocks, you can, in the same size, you can always place the blocks underneath your knees as you go to hinge forward. Okay, so a couple different things to offer there. But take a nice big inhale, lift the arms to sky, and as you exhale, let's hinge from the hips. And let's lower down towards our thighs. Only going as far as what's comfortable, so a little gentle stretch along that low back and our hamstrings. As you inhale, slowly release. Allow yourself to raise up, nice and slow. Taking a moment to observe. And then we're going to start to head down towards our mat. So we're going to head towards the mat and we're going to see supported bridge. So we're going to utilize a block. Now, as we come to this pose and we have our block, it's going to go underneath our sacrum. So when we lift our hips up, placing it underneath, we want to make sure we can swipe underneath our low back. If there is no space there, you need to make sure you adjust that block, shift it down just a tad bit further so that you can swipe your hand underneath that low back. Now, once you get your block set, allow your hands to rest maybe down along your sides, palms facing down, or maybe we allow the arms to go up overhead as our fingertips kind of reach maybe towards a back wall, the palms face to the sky, the back of the arms rest to the ground. That's an option, supported breathing bridge. Or you can just do supported bridge with arms down along your sides. But taking a moment here. On the next inhale, let's lift the hips up and remove the block, and then lower your hips back down towards the ground. So we have that flat back against the ground. Hand placement can stay as it is, or you can have them down along your sides. And we're going to come to a reclined bound angle. That's what's coming next. Kind of soaking up that low back, pressing towards the mat. And then we come into that bound angle. Now, we can allow our legs to open up as if we're making a diamond with our lower body. So we bring the heels in to meet. So the heels, the big toes, the balls of our feet, they get to meet as if you're making that diamond with your body, your lower body. Now, if this feels really tight, blocks and bolsters can be utilized. So we can always place a block underneath that outer thigh on each side to help support the hips. If you have a bolster, slide it under your legs can rest over it, so you've got that cushion underneath, a little bit of support. Keeping in mind, the blocks can be utilized, your 3 settings, low, medium, and tall. So if you need to adjust it maybe to that medium height to support the legs, feeling free. And if you don't have bolsters or blocks, but maybe you've got a pillow or some blankets that you can kind of fold up to help support, doing that here. Arms can rest maybe along our sides. So we have those fingertips and palms aiming up towards the sky as the arms rest down along our sides. As you inhale, we get to slowly release. We can guide the knees in. So that way the heels and the toes press down towards the mat. We see that reclined bridge. So we have that little bend to the knee. And then we're going to bring the knees in towards the chest. We can wrap our hands around our shins. Maybe we wrap our hands around our hamstrings. Your legs can be further apart, so you can allow some space for the body within. Option is that you can hold, or you can rock gently side to side, massaging out that low back and spine. And finding our way back to that center, we're going to allow the knees and the ankles to come to meet right at the center. Take your arms out to a T, palms face up towards the sky. Take a nice big inhale, and as you exhale, let your hips go to the right. A little spinal twist here. Now, as we take that twist, our gaze can look towards the ceiling or towards your left thumb. So our legs travel over towards the right side. If your right leg can't meet the ground, you can place the block underneath, a bolster, a blanket. And the same thing with that left knee. If the left knee doesn't meet the right, you can always place a block, maybe a bolster, maybe a blanket in between the legs to help provide that additional support. As you inhale, let the hips come back to the center. As you exhale, let the hips transition over to your left. Gaze can look towards the ceiling or towards your right thumb. And then utilizing props as needed. As you inhale, you get to slowly release. Come back to the center. Maybe the knees come to chest, hands can wrap around shins or hamstrings. And as you exhale, you can lower the legs down to that reclined bridge. Option, maybe you settle here, the reclined bridge. Maybe you take that constructive rest and you allow your legs to go as wide as your mat and let the knees cave in towards the center with arms along our sides. Or maybe we go to that traditional corpse pose, allowing the legs to go nice and long. Maybe legs are hip width apart and arms rest along our sides with palms facing up. We can always utilize a bolster underneath our legs here, underneath the back side of our legs, so we underneath our knees for a little basic relaxation pose that we would see in a restorative practice. If you have blocks, same thing. You can place it on the back side of the legs. Or feeling free to ground in a position that you'd like to end with. Allowing our focus to come back to that breath and breathing deeply. Allowing everything we did to settle on into the body. Allowing each breath to get a little deeper. And a little longer. We start to see our breathwork technique 4-4-4 come back to us. So we'll be inhaling for a count of 4, holding for a count of 4, and exhaling for a count of 4. At any point, if it doesn't serve you, just breathe as you normally would, but I'll help guide you through it if you're participating. You get to empty out the lungs here with that exhale. Take a nice big inhale for 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale.